Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made you host now.
Lovely. Let me see my slideshow. Okay, hi everyone. I don't know how many people are in the session right now, but hopefully there's a good number of you, because in today's session, study skills will be covering certain things that we do need you guys to participate in. So hopefully you'll be able to like pop things in the chat box or even unmute yourself and just participate. Last week's session, I did think that you guys participated very, very well. So I hope that'll be the case today as well. But yeah, again, my name's Amy. I'm right here, and then I've also got Ellie on the other end who will be presenting. So we'll be taking turn to present. Ellie, I've not applied the stickers onto the thing because I've kind of run out of time to put them on.
Oh, don't worry.
Slide, so hopefully we'll go with the flow. We'll see how it goes. So bear with us, everyone. Today I was editing the PowerPoint and creating it and stuff, and then it just deleted itself, so I had to create another one quite last minute. So here we are. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'll just get started. And today we'll be covering managing your time, dealing with distractions, and hacks that every student should know, as well as studying and well-being. And we also covered that last week, but we'll go into we'll just reiterate it and go into a little bit more detail about it as well. So I'll let Ellie do this one, unless you want me to do it, Ellie.
I can do it if you want. Yeah, whatever.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. You can just take the reins.
Yeah, so if we were to describe procrastinating, there's quite a few definitions. So personally, I would say that anything that you're putting something off to do is procrastination. So you're making other tasks prioritized before them. It's something that everyone has to deal with, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to get over. There's so many things that we can do to help it. Sorry, one sec, my dog's barking, guys. I won't be a minute.
That's okay.
Sorry, I'm back, guys. So yeah, it's important to understand some of the reasons why we could be procrastinating, because it's not just like a surface thing. It can really get stuck in your routine. So you might be confused about the task, for example, or distracted. For me, it is an issue because I like things to be perfect. So being a perfectionist can put you off doing a task. The fear of getting negative feedback when you submit something. I know when you put a lot of hard work and effort in something, sometimes you don't want to know what the actual result is. Fear of failure and self-sabotage. You might simply just not enjoy the task. It might be really difficult and you don't understand it. Another reason could be you're lacking energy. And it also does build into a habit. If you keep on doing like procrastination, you keep dawdling and not doing things immediately, it turns into a habit that's quite hard to break. And also it's important to acknowledge that working home makes it a little bit harder because you're not in a workspace or a work environment where your brain switches to be like, right, I'm in work mode now. So I think that's made it a little bit harder for everybody too this year.
I think, yeah, like some of the things like Ellie did list are absolutely brilliant. I do think like those are the main reasons why we procrastinate. But hopefully you'll be able to like sort of put things in the chat box if you're able to. I know Ellie has got access to the chat box. I've got it on full screen mode right now, so unfortunately I won't be able to see it. But if you guys can just pop some things in the chat box, kind of giving us the definition of what procrastination means, that would be great. So either just like little words or what you think procrastination means to you. When I was creating this, I was like to my little sister, what do you think procrastination means? And she was like giving me different definitions. So it's not like a universal thing that everybody goes, yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a dictionary definition for it, but it does mean different things to everybody. So if you want to pop it in the chat box, that would be great. And if you are able to give us the answers, Ellie, as and when they come in.
Yeah, I've got it open now. It doesn't have to be something like brand new either, guys. If it's something that I mentioned that might really stick out to you, that you think that, oh, that might be the reason that I actually procrastinate, you can just put that in the chat box too. Leonie said delaying or postponing something. Yeah. So just putting it on the back burner.
Yeah, lovely. I'll give the rest of you a few more seconds and minutes just to think about it.
Jemima said to us that she avoids doing work, so it is the perfect way to avoid tasks, no matter if big or small.
It is. I think that's a really, really good one, Leonie. We've got a few definitions of our own that we've kind of come up with. So dawdling, I know Ellie's mentioned that one, just kind of like, taking your sweet, sweet time when perhaps you don't actually have the time to take. That's kind of like another example of procrastination. I can see the chat box flashing. I don't know if that means we've got some stuff coming in.
So Jess has put that it's to ignore or avoid something that's coming up, which is exactly right. And Leonie's also put something in about self-control.
No, I think that's really, really good. You guys are definitely spot on. I'll just reveal some of the things that I've put in. So I'll do it on Monday. It's always a good, like me and Danny were talking about workouts in the gym. Something that I used to do quite a lot. I'll be like, I'll start on Monday. And then Monday comes along. You're like, oh, I'll do it next Monday. Delays. So delaying it is another kind of form of procrastination. I'll do it later. But some of the the things that you put in the chat box are definitely 100% spot on. So well done for kind of being so spot on and participating on that one. So I think it's safe to say that everybody procrastinates, at some point in their life. It's, for different reasons that people procrastinate, but we can fight the urge to put things off, especially when it comes to revision and studying in general. So some of you might be in year 9 right now, and you might be, sitting your GCSEs in the next 2 years. And so, the urge to put things off is definitely something that you're going to have to learn to fight off and learn to be a little bit more disciplined. And hopefully you'll walk away from this workshop today feeling like, okay, I've got a few techniques and tricks to kind of help me with procrastination. And things like that. So I'll move on to the next slide. And this one is to go through procrastination and why you think students procrastinate. So obviously procrastination, when you procrastinate right now and you say, I'll do it tomorrow, it normally means that you'll have to do it on later on in life, or later on in the week, or later on in the year. So if you don't revise right now, it does mean that at one point or another you're going to have to revise or face the consequences of it. So if you're able to put some things in the chat box and tell me why you think students procrastinate, that would be great. So this is a very this is a very interactive session. We've tried to make it so interactive so that you're not just sitting there and listening to us, that you're kind of being engaged and with the process. So do put some things in the chat box as to why you think students procrastinate. Students meaning yourselves, student meaning university students, just like everyone really.
So Leonie said sometimes I don't always understand. And I was just thinking then when I was at uni, that was a big thing for me. I was always put off doing something in case I was going to do it wrong. Like if I didn't understand the question, or it all just felt a bit overwhelming. That's a really good answer.
Yeah, that is really good. And actually, I think once we reveal some of the answers, it will actually become, it'll kind of match up.
Confidence issues as well. That's true. Not knowing where to start. The start is the hardest bit. Like Amy said with the gym, the hardest bit is getting to the gym.
Yeah, once you're in there, you're good. It's like going to the gym, thinking about what you have to do to get there. It's a whole process. But yeah, the gym's just one example. We'll take a few more, hopefully, everybody else has some ideas as to why students procrastinate. Think about yourself. Think about why you put things off.
So Jess has just given a really good answer. She said that people might dislike talking or they get anxiety when they need to talk in front of an audience. So yeah, anything that requires public speaking can really put you off getting prepared for it. And by procrastinating more, that deadline's only going to come closer and you're just going to feel less and less prepared, and then you feel more stressed and more anxious. So it's such a difficult cycle, but that just shows how important it is to break it.
No, definitely. I think we'll put the answers out now. So being confused about the task is one reason, and I think Ellie did mention this one. So not understanding the task, or just kind of like not having a clear understanding of what you're supposed to be doing, can put you off completely. I know I definitely have been a kind of a victim to this, or have been I'm prone to this when I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing. I put things off, but it definitely is not a good thing. So yeah, there we are. That was the explanation. The animations on this one aren't very good. So getting distracted is another one. So either getting distracted with your phone or with different things in your life, or getting distracted in school can be another reason as to why students procrastinate. Being a perfectionist, I know that Ellie did touch on this one. So wanting things to be absolutely perfect, and that kind of holds you off from actually starting in the first place, or holds you off from kind of submitting the work. I've just seen this chat box splash, so I don't know if anyone was making a contribution.
Yeah, Leonie's just said something really good. She said distractions from other students in class.
Yes, definitely. I think that is something that right now maybe you guys perhaps aren't experiencing as much, but I know back in the day when I was at school, you definitely do get distracted from other students, and it does kind of put you off from actually starting the work that you're supposed to be doing, or revision, especially when, you know, we mentioned last week, if you're revising with a friend, there is that temptation of you began revising, and then, you know, 25 minutes in, you're talking about what you saw, the latest film on Netflix or something like that. So definitely right, you're right on that one. Fear of failure. So actually that is something that's quite common. I know somebody else mentioned anxiety and things like that in there, and that's one of the reasons why we procrastinate. But actually being afraid of getting your results back could be the reasons why you don't submit your work, or you don't even begin in the first place. So that is a common one.
Leonie's just said as
Yeah.
well, not having the right resources, which is a big thing about accessibility. It can really put you off doing something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now, I think a few students might be feeling it in terms of technology and kind of like revision books and exercise books that they don't have at home, and they would normally have it in school. So that might be a really big reason. And I think that some people might be feeling it more
I
than
think
ever
even
right now.
having like weak Wi-Fi at home, it makes you not want to do. You get worried about it buffering if you're doing a presentation and you don't want to look silly. It's like there's a lot of things that feeds into.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Ellie experience this all the time.
Yeah.
I'm always like, sorry guys, my Wi-Fi is not working. So that's also another one. Yeah, fear of negative feedback. So fear of just kind of being told that you're wrong, or being told that your work is possibly not up to scratch, or not up to the criteria that was given out. That could be another reason.
Not having enough hours in the day is right as well, Leonie.
Yeah, not having enough time. Although I do believe that if you split your time up very correctly, or if you try to allocate times appropriately, you might be okay. But I know what you mean, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that later on in terms of distractions and things like that. So we'll touch on that.
I think my favorite quote with that, when I say, "Oh, I don't have enough time,"
Yeah.
Beyonce has the same 24 hours in a day that we do.
Oh,
You know what I
that is
mean?
so true.
Imagine what
True.
Beyonce gets done in 24 hours. What can we do?
Yeah, I know, right? So if Beyonce can do it, I think we should be able to at least attempt to do it. And then another one is habit. So Ellie did touch on this one in the beginning, and it is something that procrastination can become a habit. And if the earlier kind of it starts on, the earlier the habit is formed, the harder it is to break later on in life. Because like if you started it at the age of 11, for example, and you've kind of kept carrying on till the age of like 18, you're going to find it very, very hard to break. But the good news is all habits can be broken. So fear not. It's just about finding the right time to do it, and also like committing to that as well.
Definitely.
And you might not enjoy the task. So someone did mention this in the chat box, and Ellie also talked about it earlier on. So yeah, if you don't enjoy the task, then you might be not wanting to start it, or not even wanting to engage with it at all. I know that's the reason why I really didn't like the academic side of school. I liked school social life, but I really didn't like the academic side of things, because I was like, I didn't enjoy it. The only thing I enjoyed was pretty much drama and all the other sort of like selective subjects, and that I really excelled at. But like, my core ones, I didn't enjoy them very much, so it was quite hard to sort of get into it. So you guys might be experiencing this one as well. So next, we're going to be going through some solutions. So we've identified the reasons why students might procrastinate, but we're going to come up with a few solutions. And I'm going to let Ellie take the reins on this one, if that's okay with you, Ellie.
Yeah, did you just a heads up, the PowerPoint that I've got to refer to isn't actually the up-to-date one.
Yes, yeah, no, yeah. So sorry, I forgot to send you this one at the
No,
end.
don't worry. It was just in case something on the next slide didn't make sense if I said anything wrong.
No, that's okay. So I'm gonna let Ellie do this one, and we're gonna kind of go through the solution. Well, you're gonna help us find some solutions to some of the problems that some of the reasons why we think students procrastinate. So so I'm gonna bring them one by one, and if you want, or do you want me to just bring them all in, Ellie? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, you can bring them in and we can compare. If you want to pop in the chat box anything that you think might help with procrastination. So obviously we said about being confused and being distracted. So what would help you with being confused about a task? Who would you go to first? Talk to tutors, that's right, Leonie. I would definitely go to my tutor first. I think your peers are a really good port of call as well, because if you've got a friend that's on the same course as you, it's really good to bounce ideas off each other, and they might be able to explain it to you in like more understanding terms because they're on the same level as you. It's not going to be like talking down to you or anything. It's a bit easy to understand. Getting distracted, what do you think the best way to beat that is? Whether it's being distracted by your phone, by your friends, what do you think the solution to that would be? Just pop it in the chat box. What would you say the solution to that would be, Amy, to being distracted?
Ooh, I think to being distracted, if it's by my friends, I'm the kind of person that really, when I have really good friends and stuff, if I start doing a task with them, I get very, very distracted by them. So I try to not. When I was at university, I tried my absolute best to not work with my friends at all. I was pretty much a lone wolf when it came to like studying. I would go to the study area by myself or book a room by myself and just study on my own. And in terms of my phone, it was something that used to distract me a lot when I was at university. I did the extreme thing where I deleted all my social media, and I was off social media for like about 4 or 5 months whilst I was at university, and I didn't go in it. But I realized that's quite extreme. So obviously not everybody has the chance to do that. So I switched my phone off and put it away, or put a timer on that I can't go on my phone. And that's the way I beat distraction.
That's what Leonie said as well. She said keep phone on silent and put it away. I think that's the best thing to do. Another one, ask for regular feedback from your tutor. That's a good idea. If you set up like monthly conversations so you know that you're always going to be improving, that's such a positive way to break that habit, because you're doing things that are going to build better habits rather than just trying to break something that's a bad habit. So this is a bit harder. How do you beat procrastination if it's because you don't like the task? You can't really just be like, oh, because I don't like it, I'm not going to do it.
That's quite a hard one, yeah. But
I think my approach to that would be like, look at the task from a new angle. Is there a way that you can make it more interesting? Yeah, exactly, Jemima. Ways to make it more interesting. What about fear of failure? best way to get over fear of failure is just accept it. And you know, you probably aren't going to fail, but you're only going to find out if you do the work anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite hard. With failure, I think it's just like giving it your best shot and hoping like that you have met the criteria, or that you've met the standard in order to get the grade that you want to get. And sometimes failure does mean, you know, different things to lots of different people. So getting a grade 4 is like considered, like I would be like, yeah, really, really super happy to get grade 4. But equally, I know that a grade 4 to someone else is like, oh my God, this is my worst nightmare. I don't like, this is not what I wanted. So it does mean different things to everybody. So I think as long as you try to apply the knowledge that you have been given and try your best to do the task you know, in the best possible way, if you get the results, the only thing that you can do with that is ask your teacher, what could you possibly do to get that grade higher up, or, you know, to succeed.
I think a thing with failure as well is such a mindset that you need to, instead of seeing it as like a failure or you've done rubbish, you need to be like, oh, it's just a chance for improvement, it's just practice, it's just the way that you look at things. So yeah, like with your assignments, Leonie, hopefully if you just have like a really positive mindset and you're going to get great grades back, it's just a whole positive experience, and hopefully your other ones are going to be, and like you said as well, you've got a second shot at it, so if you've got room for improvement, then you can use that feedback, and you don't need to be scared of getting feedback either, and it's just going to create a positive cycle. And like the last box says there, it's a habit. You just need to build new habits and break the old ones.
Yeah, that's lovely. Shall we move on to the next one then, Ellie? Okay, lovely. So we've got some slides in the next couple of slides. We're going to be going through 4 ways to be kind to your future self, and obviously your future self being like sort of going to college, sixth form, possibly going to university or pursuing an apprenticeship. So all of these things are going to help you to sort of like build a better future, because you're building better habits to kind of like achieve the, you know, the kind of like the grades that you want, and also the future that you want for yourself as well. So we're going to take it one slide at a time. If you want to do the next one, Ellie.
Yeah. So yeah, number 1, do the worst thing first. So whatever is really scaring you or putting you off, put it as number 1 on your task list, because once it's out of the way, you don't need to think about it anymore, and it's not going to sap away your energy or anything like that. You just get it out of the way and get it done.
Number 2, try the 10-minute trick. So set a timer and just commit yourself to doing 10 minutes of work or 10 minutes of reading, and you'll actually find that eventually it's not that hard. And we mentioned last week the Pomodoro technique, which is slightly like this one, where you set like a 20-minute timer, you take a 5-minute break, and then you just keep increasing the study time, and you obviously keep increasing the break times as well. So in this way, you kind of find it that maybe perhaps you can do more than 10 minutes. Actually, perhaps you can sit for half an hour or 45 minutes and do the work. And so, you know, maybe at the beginning you were thinking, I genuinely can't start this at all. And by the end of it, you've actually done a lot more than you thought you could have done. So definitely try the 10-minute timer, and also complement that with the Pomodoro technique as well, and see how it goes.
So our third tip is to treat yourself. So reward yourself. If you've done something that's been really difficult and you have procrastinated over a while, you deserve to be treated. You've done something really good. So build a habit of treating yourself, but obviously don't go too overboard. Don't be buying yourself a new pair of trainers every time you submit one piece of work.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that a lot of people don't do, because they think, oh no, I have to wait till the end. I just have to wait till the end and I'll celebrate then. But I think it is really, really nice to actually, you know, treat yourself in, you know, short bursts. By the time you get to the end, it doesn't feel like you've exhausted yourself and relaxing is the only thing that you're going to do, and it just feels like so long ago. So try to do it in short bursts, where you maybe go for like a McDonald's every time you've done something nice. Yeah, like a McFlurry or something. Yeah. And then number 4, break your work into smaller manageable tasks to help you track your progress and it feels less overwhelming. So obviously creating a study timetable like we mentioned last week can be very, very helpful for this. You guys have a timetable right now with even online schooling, just to like make sure you do different subjects at different times. It can break up your day as well as make sure that you're doing the work that you're supposed to be doing and that you're not just doing one piece of work for the rest of the day, because you'll find that your time is gone and maybe you won't have the Beyonce kind of success or Beyonce success as in time management wise. I don't mean what Beyonce is doing on stage. So if that makes sense to you. So try to break it into smaller manageable tasks and track it that way. So the next thing we've got is beating distractions. And so we'll just take them in turns, Ellie, if that's okay. So yeah, the first one, we did go through this last week and a lot of you did actually help us to, create a positive study environment. So, it's always very, very crucial before you get into actually studying to try to create the environment that is conducive to sort of studying, and it will help you to become a little bit more productive. Because if your environment is very, very hectic and you're the kind of person that really likes your peace and quiet, you'll perhaps find it a little bit harder to study.
Number 2, like we said, switch off your phone. Or there are new apps now, I'm sure that you've probably seen them, where it's like you start for when you started doing a task, so you press start and it'll be like watering plants for you, and like you don't want to let your plants die, so you're not allowed to touch your phone. There's a lot of different ways that will stop you from going on it, because I think like as a generation we're really bad for touching our phones when we need to be doing something important.
Oh wow, that's super cool. I did not know that. I think I knew that.
Quite good.
Cool. So taking a brain break. So obviously what we mentioned in the previous one, either doing like a 10-minute timer where you're doing the work for 10 minutes, or doing the Pomodoro technique, we're doing like work for 45 minutes and then taking like a 15-minute break is really, really good, just to make sure that you obviously aren't just sat in one place all day and doing the same work all the time. It kind of gives your brain the chance to just relax and give it the space to not think as well.
Like I said before, so I prefer writing a to-do list on paper rather than on my like calendar on my laptop. So whatever way works best, write down the goals for the day, things that you can't negotiate, like this has to be done. And like we said before, put the thing that you're dreading the most at number 1 and go from there. And it's really satisfying then when you tick them off too, because you can see visually that you've done a lot of work that day.
Definitely. So 5 is to avoid too much caffeine. Obviously, we can't tell you not to drink coffee or not to drink tea. I've become like a really bad tea drinker. I've picked this habit up from university and here I am. And so it's one of those things. Try to avoid too much caffeine and try to not rely on caffeine to be your sole energy provider kind of thing. So you're not just relying on an energy drink or coffee to help you get energy, because it's not really good nutrition. You want to kind of get the nutrition from other foods and other things that you're doing in your life. So try to avoid too much caffeine. Not only is it like sort of long-term really bad for you because you're end up very dependent on it, but also it will it will kind of like help, it will make you crash. So it has like a short burst where you're like spiked up and you're really, really hyper, but you'll notice after like 45 minutes or an hour, you come crashing down. And so you need to like have more caffeine to get back up again. So try to avoid it. So we've got 4 study hacks, or not in for you, because the other one's quite complicated and it requires like us to give you worksheets and for you to be here in person. So we've not got 4. We've got a video that we're going to watch, and hopefully the sound does work for us all. It is something that is always tricky when you're doing things online. So hopefully the video does work. And this one's called Interleaving, and it will explain what the study hack is. Let me know if you can hear it.
Into what now? Don't be put off by the fancy name. All this really means is that if you study a couple of things at once, you'll learn more. Let me explain. Imagine you're learning geography and you have 3 topics: rivers, droughts, and pollution. You might think that it would be best to study everything in rivers, making sure you know it really well before moving on. It just makes sense. Better to focus on one topic and get really good at it, then to the next topic. But it turns out this is wrong. Remember when we talked about the pathways in the brain? You want to build the strongest path possible so that it lasts as long as possible. It feels like going over it lots in one go will be the best way to do this, but actually research shows that this isn't the case. In order to build a good path, you have to make the most effort. In the brain, effort means working hard. If you study rivers, droughts, and earthquakes all at the same time, your brain has to jump between 3 different topics. That's a lot harder than just staying with one, so your brain puts in a lot more effort and you will learn the 3 topics much better.
Lovely. So this kind of sort of touches on what we've been talking about before, with kind of making sure that you incorporate different subjects into your study timetable. Hence the reason why your schools give you lots of different subjects in one day. So try to incorporate that when you're creating a study timetable, and hopefully this hack will be something that you implement later on down the line as well. So next one, we've got spacing versus cramming. I know we did talk about it last time, but we're going to reiterate it again this time, and hopefully your brain will be like, it's important, I need to not do this. So it's something that I choose to call, so spacing is something that I call very relaxed, and cramming is something that I like to think of as very rushed for time. And it's not something that is very good, because the standard of work is always going to be a little bit more poorer if you're cramming things than if you're doing it very last minute. So it is safe to say that our brains remember information more effectively the more times we revisit it. So last time we had a graph to kind of illustrate that for you. So obviously the more times you visit something, the more like your brain starts to think, okay, well, Jess is revisiting this so many times, it must be important, so I should remember it. I should try to contain the information and then apply it later on. And then spacing out your learning rather than leaving it to the last minute means you'll remember more as well. So try not to leave things last minute. I'm going to give you like a little anecdote of what happened to me during GCSE times. I was going for my GCSE biology exam. I literally did not touch a book of biology weeks prior, or like even months prior. I attended the lessons, that's what I did. But the night before, I got my books and I said, you know what, I'm going to study everything that I covered in lessons. And I stayed up the whole night and I had caffeine, and it didn't go so well, because I woke up very, very tired the next morning. I probably had about 2 hours of sleep, went to the exam, and I was feeling very, very drowsy, and I did not perform very well as well. So it was very unfortunate. And obviously I did not repeat this mistake for the exams that I had upcoming. But that's a very, very kind of extreme example for you. Try not to cram your exams and try to space it out instead. Not your exams, you're studying, sorry. Revisiting information lets our brain know the information is important to us, and it's something that we need to remember. Just like we reiterate in spacing versus cramming, we covered it last time in a slightly different format and had different illustrations. But the point being is we're reiterating the fact that you shouldn't cram your studying. You should try to space it out a little bit more and try to have different subjects in one kind of study timetable, so you're not just studying the same things over and over again. So hopefully that's a good example to help you understand this. I know I saw the chat box flashing and I don't know what was said in there, but maybe it's relating to this.
It's not. It was just Leonie asking something for Daniel to answer. It's not for us to answer.
All right, okay. Lovely. So if you're okay to do this one, Ellie, let me know.
Yeah, so this is just to do with the way that you process things. So you might have more of an image-based mind. So it takes like sticky notes around your house or in your bedroom, or like revision posters that are going to help you study a bit better. Or you might use something like Quizlet, which plays it through your earphones, so you don't actually have to read or look at anything, you just listen in and it goes in that way. So students who use images and text in their notes are actually more likely to remember their information, because your brain is using both the different opportunities to remember this load of information that you're looking at. So it's good to have different techniques at once. So images don't just have to be like a picture of a brain. If you're doing biology and you're just talking about your brain, it could be anything to do with diagrams that will help you remember. I've always found mind maps to be really useful, because you can fit quite a lot of info in a small space, and they're quite easy to go back to, and you can see your thought process as well. So it does depend on what works on you, but I would definitely try a lot of different approaches to find out which study skill is best for you. But anything that's, you know, a little bit different to just looking at black and white words on paper is definitely going to be preferential.
Definitely, because you all have different learning styles. I know we did a little quiz last week, and obviously that isn't kind of like a diagnosis of this is what you are, and you should only stick to that, because I believe that our different learning styles do interlink as well. But you do have a prominent one that perhaps you kind of prefer. So I'm a very kinesthetic learner. So when I'm learning something, it's always really good for me to sort of like try to do it and try to perhaps act it out, or to see it in person, or to even watch a film of it helps me to just kind of take in that information a little bit more better than had I just read it. Because if I just read it, it doesn't sink in very well and it doesn't tend to stay in my long-term memory. It kind of stays in a little bit longer and then just leaves. So just be mindful of that. So even though in school you are given textbooks, just know that you can incorporate different things into your revision and your studies as well to help you remember. We've kind of come to the end of it. Do you want to split this up so that we talk about different things, Ellie?
Yeah, you go ahead.
So yeah, we're coming to the end, which means it's something that it's gone really, really fast. But we'll try to explain this one in more detail, because I don't think we'll be touching on this in the next session. But we did touch on it last week. So well-being and as well as studying do come hand in hand, even though your teachers do want you to do very, very well. And we obviously want you to do well. It is very important to prioritize your sort of mental well-being, just because if that's not very good, then you perhaps won't excel as much, because you'll be thinking about different things, perhaps, you know, the anxiety or different stress factors are getting to you. But things to kind of just help with that would be eating healthy. So ensuring that you have a very nutritious meal, or at least few nutritious meals a day, can actually be very, very helpful as well. Instead of just having like sort of caffeine or like sort of caffeinated drinks, whether that be energy drinks or coffee or anything else like that, to help you get the energy, maybe try to opt for fruits to help you get the energy that way, so that it lasts a little bit longer, and you're not going to crash by the time you reach, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning, because you had your energy drink at 8 a.m., which tends to happen. So try to eat healthily as well.
Yeah, another thing is exercise. Taking a break from your work and exercising is a really good way of releasing endorphins and just feeling better about yourself, and giving you that break where you're doing something and you're not using your brain. So for example, when I was doing my GCSEs, I would always go on a run like once a night in between the different topics. So it just split the night up for me. And it's just a really good way to de-stress as well, which is the most important thing. You don't want to be sat throughout your entire exam period, whether that's like a month or 2 months or a few weeks, feeling stressed. That's the worst thing ever.
Definitely. Sleep is obviously something that is very, very important. I was going to say we don't even need to go into it, but we will. It's very, very important, obviously, to have a very kind of like decent rest the night before your exam, or just night before anything really. If you're going to go back to school on the 8th of March, make sure you're fully well rested the night before, so that you're going to go back in and you're going to be able to sort of interact with everyone. Because something that we've been talking about is perhaps when we go back to working life, we're going to find it a little bit more difficult, because when we're at home, you're able to sort of chill out a little bit more. But when you're working and when you're back in with people and when you're back in school, you require different energy levels as well. So sleep can help you with that. And obviously, not to mention with exams, it's very important to have, like a good night's rest before your exam. An example that I had is I didn't obviously sleep very well during my the night before my biology exam, and had lots of caffeine as well. Was a terrible idea. Do not recommend it. So I definitely would recommend that you sleep well before it.
Mindfulness as well. So I know it's quite difficult to prioritize that when you think like, oh, why should I, when I've got all these other things to do? But making sure that you're taking time for yourself and thinking what's going to help me the most, what's going to stop me from feeling really stressed, whether that's just listening to music or sitting down, doing some stretches, the things that you might think are a bit silly, but the effect that they have on you is really good. And the more times you do it, the more times you believe in that it's helping you be mindful, and you're practicing like a bit of, self-love in times that can be a bit difficult, because we all know that exams aren't the nicest time for your mental health.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously lastly, be kind to yourself, and don't say things to yourself that you perhaps wouldn't say to a friend or to anybody else, really. And so be kind to yourself, and remember to ask for help, because your teachers are there and we're obviously here. So GM High has got like a chat thing, it's called Tap, that you can just kind of pop there and ask us some questions if you needed anything. But yeah, just remember to be kind to yourself, and that you're trying your best, and everybody is trying their best at the current moment. So just remember it will end. This too shall pass, and so try not to stress about it too much. But we've come to the end of our presentation. We've got a few sort of minutes left before our actual end time. And if you have any questions or anything that you want us to clarify, then just pop it in the chat box. And myself and Ellie are just going to sit here a little bit longer. If you wait to, see if you guys have any questions before moving on to the next slide. And these are some of the resources that you can find on our website right there. We don't have any handouts for today's session, so don't worry about having to be chased up for it or anything like that. So I'm gonna wait here and see if you have any questions at all.
Yeah, the chat box is looking pretty dry. I mean,
oh, guys, come on! You can ask any questions at all, so don't mind if it's.
Well, Leonie's given us some nice feedback. She said she really enjoyed it. So did we.
Oh, thanks, Leonie. That is nice of you. But no, if you don't have any questions, that's absolutely fine. And if you don't want us to clarify anything that we've mentioned, in case we did go over it really, really fast, then equally you can ask us to clarify. But if not, we're going to ask you to fill out our beloved evaluation forms, which we always ask you to do. If you're able to put it in the chat box, Ellie, that would be great. And let me know if you are able to do that. Yeah, so just fill them out. Like we kind of always ask you to do that. It is very important to us, your feedback. So it just make sure it kind of helps us to understand the things that are working and the things that are not working. So
Miracles just said that it was really helpful, so that's good. Massively name.
Lovely. That's great.
And the link is now in the chat box, guys. If you could fill that out for us, that'd be fantastic.
Lovely jubbly. But no, I think we can leave it there if that's okay with you, Daniel, or Danny. I normally call you Daniel. We can leave it there if that's okay with you. And if nobody has any additional questions, then we can call it a night. Right, thank you, Leonie. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now, and yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing it. But thank you so much